Hello students and welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Shefali Nagpal, Associate Professor at Human Resource Development Center, Bhagat Phool Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalaya, Sonipat. We are studying the paper Development of the Management Thoughts, Principles, Types under Human Resource Management. Let us discuss today on motivation. On the completion of this module, you would be able to understand the concept of motivation, understand the difference between the motivation and inspiration, understand the process of motivation and the importance of motivation, get acquainted with the types of motivation and get to know about the various techniques of motivation which are used in business. Let us begin with the motivation. Have you ever observed that why some people are very energetic towards their work while some are mediocre and some really works with a lacking approach? In the classroom setup, you must have observed that some students are very eager, inquisitive and raring to go and involved with the class teacher while others are non-participating and dull in the class. Similarly, in the organizational setup, some employees are very energetic as compared to the others and scale up the hierarchical levels of an organization in the shorter span of time. So, what makes a person successful and not? In common language, we can call it energy, zest, enthusiasm, drive, some spark too. To be more precise, it is termed as motivation. So, what is motivation? It is a force. It is something transient. It is a process. Is it inherent? Can we motivate somebody? If yes, then how? It is an expensive process. How it is going to benefit an individual or an organization? This module will answer these kind of questions. Let us understand the meaning of motivation and the definitions of it. Motivation has its origin from the Latin word movere, which means to move, to drive or to drive forward, etc. That means something which drives someone to put their extra effort to achieve something specific or some objective. Thus, motivation is a push factor for the completion of a task. Motivation raises one adrenal level and pushes him or her to the work hard for a specific goal or motive. Fred defined the motivation as process that start with psychological or physiological deficiency or need that activates behavior or the drive that is aimed at goal or incentive. Here, the focus of the Fred is on the need, physiological or psychological deficiency that drives a particular behavior. For example, if one is hungry or thirsty, so obviously he or she will have the physiological symptoms that would drive a person to fulfill that need. If somebody is depressed or gloomy, that means his or her mood or emotions would depict their deficiency, which is psychological. That will drive the other person to be joyful. According to Stephen Robbins, motivation is the willingness to exert high levels of effort towards the organizational goals, conditioned by the effort ability to satisfy some individual need. Here, the center of attention is on the four words, that is, willingness to exert high levels of effort, organizational goal, effort and ability, satisfaction of the individual need. The impetus is again on satisfying a particular need and violation. In the opinion of Gray and Stark, motivation is the result of process, internal or external to the individual, that arouse enthusiasm and persistence to pursue a certain course of action. Gray and Stark have emphasized on the processes which are intrinsic to an individual, like personality factors, attitude, beliefs, and extrinsic, that means organizational and environmental, that stimulates him to do something to achieve a specific goal. According to Parekh, the term motivation is used in two senses. general commitment to work, and specific psychological needs of an individual. The term needs and motive are used interchangeably. In the above definition, Uday Parekh has stressed that motivation person would always be committed to whatever he or she takes up, and underlying cause of this commitment would be some specific psychological need of that particular individual. Gluick explained motivation as the inner state that energizes, channel and sustain human behavior. According to Joe Kelly, motivation is a process whereby needs instigate behavior directed towards the goals that can satisfy those needs. According to Room, the term motivation refers to a process governing choices made by the persons or lower organisms among the alternative forms of voluntary activity. According to the Newstorm and Davis, work motivation is the set of internal and external forces that can cause an employee to choose a course of action and engage in certain behavior. Ideally, these behaviors can be directed at the achievement of the organizational goal. Work motivation is a complex combination of psychological forces within each person and employers and vitality interested in the three elements of it: direction and focus of the behavior, level of effort provided, persistence of the behavior. On the basis of the above definitions, we can deduce the following characteristics of the motivation. Characteristics of motivation. According to Michel, following are the four common characteristics of motivation. Motivation is an individual phenomena. Second, it is intentional. Third, it is multifaceted. The aim of motivational theory is to predict behavior. Beside the above given features, following characteristics can be inferred from the various definitions: that it is based on unsatisfied need, it is a cognitive process, it is an ongoing process, it is a driving force, it is the underlying cause of behavior, it is a complex phenomena, it is multidimensional. Motivation is responsible for direction, intensity, persistence of an individual for the accomplishment of the goal. Motivation is based on unsatisfied need. A majority of the definition mainly focuses on satisfaction of a particular need or motive. Thus, motivation is always directed towards a need. These needs could be primary and secondary needs. Primary needs are those which are related to the basic necessities of life, like food, water, air safety. Secondary level needs are also called higher order needs. For example, affiliation, self-esteem, self-actualization need. Motivation is cognitive process, as lot of thought process, analysis and evaluation is involved in deciding which specific need is to be satisfied and how it will be satisfied, and which course of action to choose from various other options. Hence, we can say motivation is based on cognitions. Motivation is an ongoing process. It is definitely a continuous and ongoing process because human life is not based on one particular need or motive. After fulfillment of the one need, other need arises and the process of motivation go on and on. For example, in social context case, once the basic need of the air, water, food is fulfilled, or in an organizational context where after getting the job one gets good salary and allowances, an individual yearns for the salary, increments and then for the promotion. So after fulfillment of the lower order needs, higher order needs become motivators, and thus in the process of satisfying the needs never ends. Therefore, we can say motivation is an ongoing process. Motivation is the driving force. It pushes an individual to exert efforts or to take course of action, and this driving force is directional as effort leads towards fulfillment of the specific goal. Motivation is underlying cause of behavior. Every behavior is caused. According to the Skinner, behavior is a function of consequences. If the consequences are desirable or inciting, obviously person will indulge in that behavior. So that luring consequence will act as a motivator for a person. Hence we can say motivation is the underlying cause of behavior. Motivation is a complex phenomena. Different things motivate an individual at different point of time, and different people have varying motivators. For example, increase in the salary motivate one individual but may not motivate the other person. One person may be motivated by recognition, praise, acceptance or approval, but other may not want these. If somebody is in the dire need of money, so according to his need or motives or personality characteristics and social position, money will act as a motivator. But once the person has enough money, it will not cease to act as a motivator. Hence, he may be desirous of something else. Hence, motivation is a complex phenomena. There is no fixed rule that can be used across the board because the individuals are unique and they have the individual differences. Motivation is multidimensional. Sometimes motivation comes from the belief which is intrinsic. Sometimes we need a push that may be positive or negative from outside to do something. Sometimes money or material things motivate us. At some point of time, only recognition, acceptance, approval, respect is enough for us to do marvelous jobs. Therefore, depending upon the various psychodemographic factors, personality factors and factors in external environment like social, political, economic, geographic, ecological, help in deciding the motivator for the individual. Hence, taking into the consideration all the factors and their permutation and combination, we decide right motivator for an individual at a specific point of time. Motivation is responsible for direction, intensity and persistence of an individual for the accomplishment of a goal. Motivation acts as a deciding factor in the direction, intensity and persistence towards the goal. The level of motivation will give our behavior a direction, that is a goal for which one has to aim for, with what intensity or strength or for how long one has to keep their efforts intact and fulfillment of the goal. So motivation, the driving force, gives the direction to the behavior and keep the momentum alive till the goal is achieved. Motivation and inspiration. Although both the words are used interchangeably, yet there is a minute difference between the two. The difference between the motivation and inspiration is that the later comes first in the sequence. For example, I heard motivational or inspirational words of somebody. I will not immediately get motivated. I will get inspired first. That means inspiration will invoke my thought first, and then depending upon the intensities of my thought, I will convert my thought into action, and that is the way we define motivation, a force, a spark that derive or propel us to action. Thus we can say inspiration is a thought process, motivation deal with the action component. Importance of motivation. So what motivates a person? This question motivates the researchers and academicians to know the underlying reasons. Since time immemorial, various studies have been undertaken to know what motivates a person. Antecedents are predictors of motivation or drivers of motivations, and they answer the question that what makes a person motivated. In the history and the various mythological studies, we can find various examples where people get motivated and did wonderful jobs. For example, in Ramayana, Indian epic, where Lord Hanuman, who was afraid to cross the sea to reach Lanka, was motivated by Jambant that he has all the abilities and power to achieve the goal. The words of Jambant aroused, drove and directed Lord Hanuman to do what he is thought is impossible. So, the most critical thinking in motivation is faith, belief and trust. Faith in your abilities, skill and efforts, and trust and belief that specific goal is achievable with my skills, efforts and abilities. This is the basic requirement to do anything in life. But iota of the doubt or suspicion or negative thought can mar this belief and thus reduces the motivation level. Thus an effort which further reduces the motivational level and finally the performance and the achievements of the goal. In the words of Swami Vivekananda, thoughts travel far. Any ill thought about anybody would reach to the other person and revert back to you with great accuracy. An anonymous saying goes like this: beware of your thoughts as they become your words, beware of your words as they become your actions. Beware of your actions as they become your character, beware you are your character as they become your destiny. Rhonda Byrne, in her bestseller book, The Secret, has written, if you commit to something very positively and you make sure no negative thought could dare enter your mind, then whole universe conspires to make the happening of the goal. Besides, positive faith and belief, what else motivate an individual and make him successful? According to the Newstrom and Davis, knowledge into skill is ability. Attitude into situation is motivation. Ability into motivation is potential performance. Potential performance into resources, into opportunity is the result. Knowledge means knowing. What of something? Skill means knowledge how of something. If you have both knowledge and skills, that make us able. Take a case of a woodcutter. Does he know what sort of woods are available or required? If he knows, that means he is knowledgeable. Second factor comes, does he know how to cut the wood or uses X? If yes, that means he is skillful. If he has both, that is knowledge and skill, that means he is able to do his job. The second equation is about attitude and situation. Does he want to go to the jungle and cut the wood? That means willingness. If yes, that means he has a positive attitude towards his work. And the second factor in the question equation is situation. For example, the right jungle, the right wood is available, or technically speaking, is situation conducive or not? If situation is conducive and he has a positive attitude too, that means he will feel motivated to do his job. The third equation is about product of the first two equations. That is he able as well as motivated? That means he has a potential for performance, but that doesn't necessarily leads to the performance or results or success. Besides, potential, he should get an opportunity and he should have resources to achieve success. In woodcutter's case, the resource is the sharpened X and opportunity is, can presently he go to cut the woods, or it is raining outside. Meaning, hereby that can he avail the opportunity? If yes, he will definitely and successfully bring the results. Therefore, one needs to have all these factors to bring the desired results. Hence, the role of motivation is not less than any other factor and all are equally important. Over the period of time, various theories, models have been propounded, criticized and revised to explain this widely studied topic, which is very essential for the other vital outcomes of the organization, institutes and in personal lives too. Motivation is the antecedent to the various other outcomes. For example, commitment, job satisfaction, loyalty, allegiance, organizational citizenship behavior, discipline, punctuality, orderliness and performance, and finally productivity and profitability of the organization. Seventh is process of motivation. But the question is how this motivation originates. The process of motivation starts with the need or expectation. All the individuals are different and unique, and because of these individual differences, different people have different needs. Even one individual has different needs at the different point of time. Various authors have given different categories of the need that drive an individual to satisfy those needs. These may be physiological, psychological, safety, affiliation, achievement, self-esteem, self-actualization, etc. Physiological needs embrace hunger, thirst, and other biological needs. Safety needs include the security of life and job, etc. The affiliation need consists of the need of association. Achievement need consists of the need to excel in a particular workplace. Self-esteem comprise of the need for the self-respect, dignity, status. Self-actualization need is about the basic purpose of the life other than the material motives. According to Farron, human life revolves around the following 12 needs. These are family, health and well-being, work or career, economic, learning, home or shelter, social relationship, spirituality, community, leisure, mobility and environment and safety, etc. Therefore, supremacy is of the need. Need deficiency create tension in the mind of an individual and thus create a drive or push him or her to do something to overcome the deficiency of that particular need. Thus, force him to do something in the direction to achieve the specific objectives or to fulfill that particular need or expectation. So, the main elements in the process of motivation are need deficiency, tension, drive, direction, achievements of goal. Even some of the authors have gone one step aside to explain the motivation process model. The main case is when drive is not so strong to convert effort into accomplishment of the goals. Then there come defense mechanism, which include the strategies like fixation, withdrawal, aggression, regression. When due to some reason the subject or individual is not able to accomplish the desired goal, some sort of barrier or blockage come into the way of an individual in accomplishment of the goal. This may be due to the decline in the direction, persistence, intensity of motivation. At this point of time, an individual take two routes: either he get frustrated or indulge in constructive behavior. In constructive behavior, he may take the route of problem solving and restructuring. Problem solving. An individual will analyze the barriers and try to remove the barriers or blockages. For example, a student is unable to get a job despite his good marks and his degrees. In problem solving, he will reassess his abilities, skills and attitude. Maybe he will find some that he is good in academics but lack in communication skill or reasoning. So after analyzing his skills and abilities, he will work hard on that particular sphere where he is weak. Restructuring or compromise. In restructuring, he will again analyze his KSA, that is knowledge, skill and attitude, and maybe he will make his mind that he is not suitable for a particular job, so he should try his hand on something else. Second sort of strategy or behavior is destructive in nature. Depending upon the personality trait, attachment to the goal and extraneous factors, the individual indulge in the following four kinds of behavior. These are aggression, which is physical and verbal attack, sabotage, resentment, rage and anger. Withdrawal, non-involvement in the job, avoiding work, passing the buck on the others, not taking responsibility, coming late and leaving early, and finally resignation. Fixation is the repeating the same old behavior which is not going to bring any productive and positive results. Regression contains indulging in the childish behavior like crying, sulking, etc. Types of motivation. As you can see in the diagram also, there is intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is the motivation in which comes from the self of the individual through your own thoughts, your beliefs in your own ability, intensity of your need and your attitude towards a goal achievement. Some people are self-motivated, self-geared, that don't require any push or accelerator from outside. Intrinsic motivation is more desirable as has long-lasting effect. Extrinsic motivation. Some people lack self-motivation or lack initiation. They are in constant need of somebody from outside to push them to do something. In intrinsic motivation, we can talk about carrot and stick approach of motivation, which means how somebody from outside can motivate you either through positive reinforcement or through negative reinforcement. Shiv Khera, in his bestseller book, You Can Win, has quoted an example of a donkey as in the moment the owner of the donkey will offer carrots to the donkey, it will keep on working moving. Similarly, in the negative reinforcement, a stick instead of the carrot can be used. Unless the owner beat the donkey with the stick, it will keep him moving, and the moment he stopped the stick, donkey will again stop working. So we can evaluate the difference between the extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation in today's fierce competition era. Nobody has the time to push other person. One has to be self-motivated on one's need to be intrinsically motivated. In an organization, if you are not performing, you will be fired from the job. Lucky are the students or the employees who have their teachers, parents, siblings, or bosses who motivate them. Otherwise, motivational talks and motivational speeches have price tagged with them. In business world, motivational speakers charge huge money to motivate you. Anyhow, this is a profession now because this is the need of the hours, as everybody is in the mad race of minting money and cannot spare time to their employees and in personal lives to their kids, etc. Therefore, instead of relying on somebody else, one should read good books, should go to talk to good and successful people and follow their footprints, observe their positive behavior, try to adapt these changes in their own life, and should have firm belief in one's abilities, skills, law of nature, and hard work never go waste. It will always fetch rich dividends sooner or later. Beside it, positive auto signal is a very powerful technique to stay motivated. Positive auto signal means doing positive self-talk. For example, I can do this, I am very intelligent, I will definitely achieve my goal, I am responsible, I am loving and caring, everybody loves me and accepts me, everybody appreciates me. That means no negative statements and not even positive statements in negative form. For example, I am intelligent. Correct for self-talk. I am not dull. Incorrect for self-talk. Psychologists are of the view that with this positive self-talk, your mind start accepting those positive aspects and start behaving in that way only. To prove this concept, many years back in USA, an experiment was carried out where the whole class was divided into the two groups of students with low IQ level students and another with high IQ level students. Students with the high IQ level were being told that they have low IQ and vice versa. And this thing was constantly reinforced to those group of students. To the amazement of all, at the end of year, their results got reversed. The low IQ students who were being labeled as high IQ actually outperformed, and high IQ students who were being labeled as low IQ students. This is the impact of the positive talks and reinforcement. Techniques of motivation: praise, recognition, appreciation, job rotation, job enrichment, money, positive self-talk, approval, challenging task, power, flexible hours, work at home, incentive system are some of the techniques of motivating the people and the employees. Let us now summarize what we have studied in this module of motivation. Motivation is a sinecure known for all tasks, jobs, productivity and success of individual as well as organization. Motivation is most widely studied topic in applied psychology. Motivation is the beginning of all the success stories. Motivation is a belief which is positive, inner feeling, drive spark, violation to take the particular course of action or to achieve the specific goals. Different authors have defined motivation in different manners and has emphasized on the words like need, motive, tension, drives, persistence, direction, intensity. Motivation is consequential in converting our imagination into reality. Importance of the motivation and how it emerges has been described in this module. Motivation is of two types, extrinsic and intrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is most desirable and long lasting and comes from the violation of an individual. What he really wants to do, and extrinsic motivation is triggered by the external reinforcement. It can be positive as well as negative. Negative motivation has bad effect on the long run, while positive motivation has good effect, although not as good as intrinsic motivation. Highly motivated employees are committed, efficient, productive, show citizenship behavior, satisfied, more focused, don't indulge in the destructive behavior, and motivate others too. Hence, create a positive ambience in the organization and shun politics, conflicts, aggression, and other negative outcomes in the organization. There are various techniques of motivating the individual in an organization setup and the other context too. No doubt, money is the motivator, but it is not the sole motivator. Even praise, recognition, acceptance, approval, which are priceless and inexpensive, can do wonders in motivating the employees. Motivated workforce is the dream of any organization, and no magic wand can do this. Managers must need to learn the skills of motivating others. Thank you, students.